Hey, hope you're all having a good day. I am Xanthoon, and today we've got a replay from the second group stage of the World Championship. This is going to be one of my games, and in fact is going to be from my last match of the second group stage. So we're going to be having a look at the Greenskins versus the High Elves. I myself were playing the Green Tide, and my opponent, if I remember correctly, was called... It's not Ogre till it's Ogre. So I guess he should have been playing the Greenskins. Nonetheless, we're going to jump into the builds and have a look what each of us brought. So for the High Elves, we've got some Silvering Guard on the flank, and I believe on the other flank. Yep, so 2 units of Silvering Guard, 3 units of Spearmen at the front. So obviously expecting a lot of anti-large, or maybe just looking to hold the line, because Spearmen are really good at that. Then backed up by some Rangers. So these guys are pretty interesting. They have anti-infantry, but where they sort of lack a bit is their armor piercing. So although they're going to be good against infantry, if that infantry is armored, not going to be doing as well as one would hope. Then we've got the Talons of Torquilida in the center, which are Archers, Regiment of Renown, and they have fire damage. So they can be a pretty nifty pick if you're expecting to see Trolls who are weak to fire. I believe Grom might be weak to fire as well as he regenerates. However, it is quite hard to hit on his chariot. Now, coming over here, we've got Loth and Seagull with shields. Really handy for a build where you're expecting to get charged in the rear of. Those are basically spearmen who have bows. A great pick in a lot of matchups. Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. This is quite a nice pick if you don't want to be moving around. This is forcing me to come to him. I think the only way that this sort of gets negated is if I bring some artillery that outranges it, but I didn't. So yeah, I'm going to be having to come to him, which definitely is what he wants with this kind of boxy build. And then in the rear, finally, we've got some Phoenix Guard, which are elite armor-piercing halberds. So very expensive, but you expect them to, well, do pretty well in pretty much any situation. Against cavalry, they will do quite well. Against armored units, they'll do quite well. And against light infantry, because of their 100 armor, you'd expect them to hold out and probably beat most light infantry units. They've also... No, these aren't the Regiment of Renown. Never mind. Alright. Okay. And then for the Lord and Hero, we've got Alif Anar, which is sort of like a sniper lord. What you're hoping to do with him is gradually wear down my Lords and Heroes, or maybe just snipe down my more expensive units. There's different ways you can use him. And what's interesting about him is that he actually brings some really cool buffs to the table. If I can just... There we go. So we've got Dark in the Skies. So he's going to be buffing up that Bolt Thrower and any other archers in his little AoE. So at the moment, just these Archers of Torquilida, I believe they're called. So that's pretty cool. Plus 20 reload skill is no joke. And then he's also got Shadow Crown, Stone of Midnight, Slippery, Mislead, which is a very tricksy spell. Basically makes a clone of him, which can be a little annoying if you think you finally caught him and then it turns out to be a clone. And then the Moon Bow, which is a really good sniping ability, which does a lot of damage. Cool. And of course he's got a mage, a fire mage with... Oh, this is pretty cool actually. So I don't often see this spell in multiplayer, not because it's not good, just because Burning Head is usually better. However, if you're worried about dealing with heavily armored units, like, say, Blackhawks, Piercing Bolts of Burning can be really effective. And you can see he's already kind of prepared to deal with Trolls. And the other thing the Greenskins do, if they don't bring Trolls, is they bring heavily armored infantry. So imagine Orc Biggins, Black Orcs, and whatnot. This spell is pretty good against that. So he's sort of covering all bases by taking the spell, which is cool. I said the word cool like 5 times. let's not say that again. Alright, then we've got Flaming Sword of Ruin, so he can buff up all these archers and frontline with some fire damage. Yeah, that could be useful. And Fireball. Great for sniping Lords and Heroes. It's just an all-around great spell. You know, it's even pretty good at sniping elite infantry or elite cavalry. It's a pretty nifty little spell at a pinch. And Starwood Staff and Book of Hoeth. So lots of magic coming into play here. Alright, now touching on to the Greenskins, we've got 4 units of Skirmish Cavalry, 2 of the Wolf variety, 2 of the Spider. So 2 of those will have poison, 2 of them will be a little bit faster. Then in the back, we've got Forest Goblin Spider Riders accompanying a unit of Orc Boy Biggins on either flank. I quite like this combo because you've got the cheaper, let's say, significantly worse cavalry, but with poison attacks accompanying the much more elite, able to do more damage Orc Boy Biggins. And when you pair them up together, you get sort of a combo which debuffs the enemy and can cut through most large units. And this is what I brought them for. I was expecting to deal with some sort of cavalry from the High Elves. I think most of the time High Elves bring cavalry. So I was a bit caught off guard by his pick here. He definitely outwitted me a little bit there because these guys are not going to be as useful as I had hoped. Nonetheless, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of goblins, which are just going to be a chaffy infantry I can throw in the way and bog down my enemy with. Backed up by the 8-peak loonies. What a great name. These guys are fantastic. They're unbreakable, which for the Greenskins is in short supply. Lots of bad leadership for this faction. So bringing something which is not going to run away is always useful. Their poison attacks as well. Just really handy. Really, really handy. They do have an ability, but honestly, I suck at using it. It's something I need to work on. The idea is they can send out sort of 3 goblins spinning some, like, I think they're dwarves or something, and they just knock enemies flying. But you've got to use it before their hit points drop below 25%, and I always forget. Hopefully, I'll remember this game. I can't quite remember. And then behind this little centre pocket, on this flank, I've got some more Night Goblins. So not Night Goblin fanatics like the 8-peak loonies. Slightly worse, but still their poison damage should be very useful. Poison, of course, debuffs the enemy, if you weren't aware. So it just makes them a little bit worse at fighting. It doesn't actually do any extra damage. Then we've got some 2 units of Blackhawks. So these guys are my heavy hitters in infantry. These hopefully will be cutting through pretty much anything and everything and getting me lots of value. Next to them, or in between them, I've got an Orc Shaman coming in with Here We Go and Brainburster. So Here We Go is an AoE buff, which can turn even goblins into, pretty decent combatants. And then Brainburster's a disruptive AoE spell, which knocks enemy units flying. It's not great for damage. The reason why I like it is that you put it on a set of archers, and you can make half those archers not be firing for the next few seconds while they get knocked around and have to pick themselves up and get back in position. So it's pretty handy. And then I've got Skarsnik, of course. Skarsnik coming in with all the good stuff. He's got Tricksy Traps, which actually, as you can see, is what I'm using right now to hide all these units. And then I've also got Fermented Fungi, Spite of the Bad Moon, and Get Back Here. And I think that's about everything. Yep. All right. Cool. So as I said earlier, I'm going to be having to advance to them because he's got the range advantage, which is, I guess, why he brought the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. He wants me to come to him. So yeah, as I'm advancing up, I've got skirmish cavalry coming up the flanks. I'm hoping to find a weak spot, but looking at this, yeah, he's got a spearman all the way around. So my cavalry are not going to find any easy way in to shut down that Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. Instead, I think what I'm looking at this and what I'm thinking at the time is that maybe because all the shields are facing the front, I can just get some cheeky damage into the back of some of these units. But he is kind of predicting me with these archers. He's got them positioned, ready to open fire into my skirmish cav. Meanwhile, the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower has been opening up into some goblins. He's only just seen my Blackhawks because they were invisible. Or stalked, I believe they're called. And the Talons of Torquilida with these fire arrows are going to be doing a lot of damage potentially. However, he's just firing into goblins. He needs to switch over to Blackhawks as soon as possible. Oh, I forgot to mention, I've got the Rusty Arrows, so 1 unit of archers. They're pretty interesting because they sunder armor. So anything they fire at, their armor will be effectively, less effective. So they can be useful. I guess I was bringing them in case I need to deal with a dragon or something like that. And they can assist melee units by sundering armor. All right, we've got a bit of a frontline clash now. So I've got goblins and my lord and hero colliding with just spearmen, and the High Elf's moving his rangers up to help deal with that. My skirmish cav is not having a great time, to be honest. He's getting zoned off. They're getting zoned off by his Lothan Seaguard, and I'm going to have to move them away before they rout off. So a pretty tough situation for me. I've also got a lot of units. This is a bit of a mistake. You want to avoid overlapping your units like this. I'm actually just going to do even more as I'm saying that. So it's a good thing you didn't bring Burning Head, because it would have been punishing, very punishing for me. I'm going to manage to get through this spearman unit, which is great, because that means I've effectively got through to all of these squishy units. However, noticing that, he's going to bring the Phoenix Guard up to stop me. So I haven't quite managed to crack his little defensive formation just yet. My skirmish cav, seeing the units have to move about, are going to come in here and try and get some work done. The Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower is actually undefended right now, so they should move in on that. So that was this spell, Piercing Bolts of Burning, and as you can see, it did a fair amount of damage to those Blackhawks, which would normally be quite hard to do damage to. So over the course of the game, maybe he can get some good value. I don't think they were quite clumped up enough to warrant that spell in that situation, but maybe the next cast will be better. So here you can see I've just recharged his Spearmen, hoping to break them off, not quite going my way because these aren't regular Spearmen, these are Silver and Guard, so they will stand and fight a little bit longer. Meanwhile, Aelith has created a clone of himself, and thinking that was him, I've just charged everything in, like, yes, I've got him. He's not going away now. I'm even trying to surround him. However, I very quickly realised that that's not the real Elith, and I'm going to back off and start trying to hammer down other points of the fight. We've got a bit of a mage-on-mage combat situation right here. So we've got a fire mage who actually surprisingly does have better stats. He would normally have better stats, but I popped the War. So the Orcs and Greenskins and whatnot are going to be getting buffed up. That's dropped off now though. So looking about even so far. Looks like we have another Piercing Bolts of Burning opening up in the sky. Here we go. And down they come into a really compact clump of Black Orcs. So that sucks for me. That's a really good cast from that mage. I'm sure she paid for herself quite well with that cast and the few other bits she's done. However, it's starting to look very tattered for the High Elves, and I think this comes down to the build, because he's actually played it really well. Unfortunately, I think this much Spearman against a very heavy infantry-based faction like the Greenskins is not going to work out too well, because Spearmen are not going to beat infantry very often. They're very good at holding the line, but when it comes to killing units, even the Silver and Guard, they're going to struggle against hordes and hordes of goblins. And don't get me wrong, they'll be killing like hundreds of them, but 100 goblins isn't worth very much. And I think that's the problem with this build. There wasn't enough, I want to say munching power, but what I mean is just pure killing power. What I would have liked to see is cavalry. And that's what I was expecting to see. So maybe that wouldn't have worked because I brought the Orc Warboy Biggins and the Spider Riders. However, if he had cavalry here, he could be charging around and massacring my goblins. And to be fair, Dragon Princes do beat Orc Warboy Biggins quite handily. So, yeah, hard to say. It definitely wasn't a bad build. It's just potentially bad into the Greenskins. And that's no mean feat, to be fair. Beating a Greenskins army right now is not the easiest thing ever. I think the faction itself is particularly well-rounded compared to others. Beating them can be really tricky. Saying that, the Phoenix Guard are still going strong with their Silver and allies. Rangers coming in. And yeah, they've got a little pocket over here. Elith is all caught up in some Spider Riders right now, so I need to get Skarsnik over here to debuff him and get him off the field. Because once he's gone, the rest of these units should rout. And it's just cleaning up the field so far at the moment. A lot of the High Elves are indeed routing. There's no good targets for these poor guys. They've got 40 kills, but I doubt it was on anything significant. I don't think they'll have paid for themselves. Elith will probably win this fight eventually, but as you can see, Skarsnik is obviously not in a hurry because he was walking. I think he still is. He needs to go over here in a hurry. I don't know why I'm taking so long. And Goblins just stood here watching High Elves fire into their friends. I guess the Orc Boy Biggins upset them or something. I don't know, my micro is a bit questionable. I think I knew I won at this point, and I was just sort of chilling. But yes, this pocket has now been broken, just leaving the Phoenix Guard, who are still standing strong with 163 kills. That is really good. However, unfortunately, it's probably just against goblins, so not the most impressive overall. We'll have a look at their damage value at the end, in fact, right now. But yeah, well played to my opponent. As I said, I think he played that really well, and I really like the Piercing Bolts of Burning. That was a really cool spell to use and bring, because it definitely would have done a lot of work to my Black Orcs. Had the game gone on a bit longer, it would have done even better. I think it just needed some other dimensions. It's all infantry with a few archers and some artillery. I think it needs some cav. Nonetheless, Aleph didn't do too great. Maybe if he'd been sniping my Lord and Hero the entire game. But yeah, unfortunately not. The mage not actually doing as well as I thought. I thought he would have got a little bit more value there. Spearman, yeah. even the Rangers didn't do too great. And that comes to the fact that even though they can kill goblins, they're not going to be doing too well against Blackhawks with all that armor. Saying that, my Blackhawks didn't actually pay for themselves either. Silvering Guard doing well, but not paying for themselves. Phoenix Guard doing okay. That's not bad value. Didn't actually pay for themselves though. And just across the board, this did pay for itself. So that's 700 gold, I think. So that's something. But yeah, I think it was just. Also, if you look at the amount of units I brought an extra 5 units. So that's outnumbering his individual units by 5, and I definitely felt that. Like, I could tell I had more units on the field, and they were able to get around a little bit easier because I had the mobility advantage, which definitely was rough for him to deal with. Yeah, some good value on these guys. Whew. They cost I want to say 600, so potentially 100% extra value. That is 2 for 1 right there. Really nice. All right, we're going to round it out there. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video. And if you wouldn't mind, leave a little comment in below and tell me how you would have dealt with this Greenskin build. Would you have brought Cav, or would you have maybe brought some more archers? Or, you know, tell me what you think. Maybe a different lord is the answer. All right, until next time, peace out.